Hey everyone, welcome to Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now in this video, I'm going to ask the question, where does Scream 7 go from here? And I'm going to discuss 5 possible ways that new director Christopher Landon and the writers may take this film, and also share with you what I personally want to see in the movie as well, and what I'll be rooting for over the next few months until this strike finally ends and we begin to see who's going to be cast in Scream 7. And at that point, the picture will become a little more clear, because the casting is the key to everything. And as of right now, the future for Scream 7 is wide open. Let's go.
Hello, Cravenites. This is Jason Cavalier, better known as the Bodega Clerk in Scream 6, and you are watching Craven Something Scary.
So there are, in my view, 5 possible overarching approaches that can be taken with Scream 7. Now, I'm not talking about specific script or storyline points. I'm going one level higher than that, which is the overarching approach, which will then determine those specific scripting points and how the story will flow from there. So that's what I'm going to focus on in this video. Now, the first of the 5 approaches I see is, number 1, they continue to follow the current model of the core 4 and a mixture of legacy cast, as we saw with 6 with Gail and Kirby, and Sydney in 5, and of course with the core 4. And then they'll always bring in some new characters that are going to be killed off in the movie. That's why they're there. But the essential core of it is the core 4 plus a mixture of legacy cast. And so it's kind of this hybrid style of film that we saw in Scream 5 and Scream 6. So I think, it's of course very highly likely that this will be what they do again, especially if James and Guy return. But the unknown factor here, the wild card in all of this, is Christopher Landon, because we don't yet know what influence he's going to have over the writing, if he's going to have input into the script as well. And that could also cause things to change up from the formula we've seen in the last 2 movies. And there are other factors, but I'm going to get into those as these points continue. But that's number 1. Keep things kind of as they've been. Now, the number 2 possible approach is that they continue with the core 4 and perhaps, Danny as well, bring Danny back, but they step away from the legacy characters in an effort to begin leaving the Wes Craven legacy characters behind and the stories continuing to move forward and kind of letting the past be in the past. And that is something that is entirely possible. I've heard arguments made that at some point in time, they'll eventually, not acknowledge the previous movies in so much as having the legacy cast return anyway. They may still pay homages to them, but, there's a lot of folks that are ready for this franchise to make a clean break. I know a lot of people personally that feel that way. Now, I'm different, though, because I don't. I think that as long as we have these legacy characters, these actors that are available and they're here with us, let's keep them in the Scream movies. That's just my opinion. And, I know a lot of people won't agree with it, and that's okay. But that's what I like. That's me, my personal preferences. But the reality is that is a possibility that they could finally just say, a final goodbye to the legacy characters, no longer coming back, just focusing on the core 4 and any of the new characters they're going to introduce to us. So that's number 2. Now, the number 3 possibility is that Christopher and the writers scrap the core 4 altogether and leave them all with that happy ending they got in Scream 6. Because if you think about it, it really was a happy ending for everyone. All of the core four survived, no one was killed, and we even see Sam dropping her dad's mask, Billy Loomis's mask, on the street, walking away from it, which is kind of indicating that she has conquered her dark side, or she's not going to give into it. She's walking away from it. And it's a powerful, nonverbal message that was communicated there. All right, so, it may just be that we only had the Carpenter sisters story for 2 movies. And that's it, Scream 5 and Scream 6. And they're going to just, scrap them and, moving forward. And that's a possibility as well. But if they make the decision to do that, at least they all had happy endings. So, you got to figure if the core four come back, if they continue to bring them back, someone will be dying. They have to die. You cannot have 2 movies in a row where all of your lead characters live. You just can't do that. Once was, a sin in and of itself, but twice would be, I don't even know what category. Who would put that in? Craziness, absurdity, whatever you want to use. So if you want all the core four to have had a happy ending, then you probably want to be rooting for this approach, because it's the only way I see that happening for all of them. If they all come back in 5, or excuse me, all come back in 7 rather, I have to say or expect at least one of them, if not more, will definitely not survive the movie. So it just depends on which side of the fence you're on with that approach. But that's definitely a possibility. But then that leaves us, though, with this massive void to fill, because if they decide to scrap the core four, there's a massive hole that, and look, I only see 2 ways that you could possibly go from there with Scream 7. And that leads me to my 4th overall possible direction for the story and for the approach to Scream 7. And that is this, that the focus then becomes on Christopher and the writers making more of a vintage Scream film, a la Wes Craven's 4 films, with Sidney back as the focal point. Because remember, Neve Campbell said in an interview, I covered it here, that she feels that Sidney Prescott's story is not, it's not over. There's more chapters to tell. And if they present her with a fair offer for her value, that she will definitely consider coming back. So she's on record that she'll come back. And so they could simply flip the script and say, you know what? We're going to kind of go old school. We're going to bring the gang back. We're bringing back Sydney. We're going to get her in here, have her be that focal point again. We're going to bring Gail back in classic Gail form. I want to see Gail from Scream 1 and 2 and 3, even 4, honestly. But those back when she was a rogue fighter, she had, she wouldn't take no for an answer. She was a hustler. I want to see that Gail Weathers. We haven't seen that Gail in 5 or 6. So bring Cindy back. Bring Gail back in classic form. And maybe even bring Kirby back as well. Kirby could assist with the investigation. It just makes sense. She has a special curiosity for Ghostface cases. And now she was, again, attacked her 2nd time. It's going to be number 1 on her radar. So, yeah, I think you could bring Kirby back, have her be actively involved, have her lead the investigation. That would be interesting. And by the way, I did fail to mention one other legacy cast member that would need to come back in this scenario. And you guys know who it is. You know it. That's right. It's Mr. Stu Macher. Get him back in there. One final showdown. And in this film, Stu will absolutely, definitively be killed. There won't be a question back and forth. It has been for over 20 years. It will be definitive. Head chopped off, thrown in a wood chipper. I mean, it's going to be something that's going to be so definitively clear that no one questions it. Okay? But that's what I'm talking about. That's option number 4. You bring back the legacy cast, kind of just say we're going to do a new Scream film, but with the original legacy cast. that survived anyway, including Stu, because he did not die. He was coming back in Scream 3, so he's still alive. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. And then finally, guys, the last one that I see as a fifth possible approach is that, if you just basically leave everybody out. So Christopher Landon comes in with the writers and says, you know what? We're going to start fresh from scratch. Scream 6 ended. Again, like I said earlier, everyone's lived. Everyone survived. They all have happy endings. Sydney had a happy ending. Everyone did. Gail lived. So everyone's good. We're going to let them all go live their lives in Woodsboro or wherever, New York, wherever they're at. Seattle for Sid. And we're going to introduce new characters, brand new antagonists with new motives, new protagonists, new final girl or guy or both. And yeah, we just get everything new. We just make a clean break. And Christopher's stamp on the franchise begins with a clean break start of new folks all together. And we'll look back at the other films with respect, and we'll tip the nod of the hat to them and pay homage to the older films, even in 7. But as far as the casting goes, they're all gone. They're all living their lives and the best lives they can live and doing their own things out there in their respective cities. And we just have a reboot, or not, we just have a straight up reboot, relaunch of the franchise. So guys, there you have it. Those are my 5 possible new storylines or overarching storylines to the franchise. And again, I'll make more videos in the coming weeks about more specific details. Like if they take this route, here's what I'd like to see, and go through all 5 of these scenarios. And I can lay some of those ideas out for you. Just some of my own personal theories and ideas that I would like to see. But until then, guys, I want to know, what do you now think about the possible direction that we'll see Christopher Landon and the writers take for Scream 7? Do you think it will be kind of the standard that's been set in the last 2? Or do you think Christopher's going to shake things up, kill someone of the core 4 right off the bat, or eliminate the entire cast altogether and bring back the legacy cast? Or do you think it's going to be the hybrid model that we've been seeing? I just want to know, of these 5 possibilities, which one do you want to see happen? So leave your comments below right now in the comment section so that I can read those and respond to you and engage with you, and we can talk about it. I love seeing you guys' theories. I really do. I enjoy it. Well, guys, that is it for this update, but I'm going to be back soon with more Scream and other horror movie content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thanks for watching.